Hello, everybody. This is Bob Calvert, founder of TalkingWithHeroes.com. Thank you for your service.us. And I'm honored to be here at this big annual Homefront Cares event at the Broadmoor. It's homefrontcares.org. And to start us off here, we're going to talk with one of the board members, somebody I've known for a long time, Al Batey. So if you could tell people a little bit about yourself first and your military service. And thank you for your service, too.
Sure, Bob. Thank you. Bob, I raised my hand back 1 July 1971. I eventually graduated from West Point in 1975, and I came into the Army as an infantry officer, an airborne ranger qualified infantry officer. I served on active duty for 6 more years, and I met this Army nurse down at Fort Carson, and I ended up separating from active duty in the middle of 1981.
Now she's behind the camera.
This is true. and Marilyn's the military retiree in our family, so I'm now a dependent spouse. However, my background and so forth, I'm a pretty patriotic person. So after 9/11, I was asking myself, what could I do to show support for our heroes and the soldiers that had protected our freedom. And as I think you know, out of Fort Carson, we had 2 major units that deployed to Iraq. Long story short, I was able to link up with the guy, Steve Biggery, who had gotten the approval from Fort Carson to welcome home soldiers out at the airstrip coming back on flights and give them a sand-free McDonald's quarter pounder with cheese and a soda with everything in English on it. And after Steve had done that for a couple months, he realized, oh shit, what have I gotten myself into? I've got several McDonald's stores to run. I think he owned 13 or 14 here locally, and this was taking a lot of his time because we had plane loads of soldiers coming back almost every day at all hours of the day. So I linked up with Steve and I said, Steve, if you'll keep McDonald's behind the effort for supplying the commodities, I'll get the community involved. And through church contacts, through business contacts, back in 2004, we started or kept going what's now continuing to work that is called the Hungry Heroes effort. Now we've met and greeted and handed out, Bob, more than 500,000 of those sand-free quarter pounders with cheese and a soda with English all over the can. Yes, we've welcomed back to the Colorado Springs area every soldier who's been deployed in harm's way. We'll be having a unit. We had their advance party come in last week, and we're making a little bit of an exception. The 3rd BCT has been in Europe for 9 months, and though not in Afghanistan, they've been in harm's way. So we are going to meet and greet them as they come back, all 3,500 soldiers as they come back here. So that was my starting with this effort, and I had a partner in crime, still do. His name's Tom Miller. Tom Miller and I were introduced by Bill and Martha Reed down at the Special Events Center at Fort Carson, probably in late 2004. Tom had already been, through donations, making available sodas and snacks and so forth for families waiting for the soldiers to march in at the Special Events Center. Have you been to some of those, Bob? What a great feeling. As
Also with 2 BCT, 3 BCT, 4 BCT.
Yes. And thanks for all that you've done, Bob. So we were introduced, and though we were spearheading 2 different efforts, we realized, hey, we may need some funds as we go forward, and how might we get involved as a 501c3? So we went to the Pikes Peak Community Foundation, and in 2005, we started a nonprofit under the Pikes Peak Community Foundation. along the way, fast forward about a year later, the Homefront Cares happened to hear about us. Jeff Dahlberg was the chair back then. Jeff, bless his heart, he left us several months ago. But Jeff invited Tom and I to dinner, and no, it was a lunch, and we chit-chatted some, and the outcome of all that was the efforts that Tom and I had going under the name the Welcome Home GWAT Heroes Program under Pikes Peak Community Foundation. That all merged up under the Homefront Cares, and that program remains alive today.
At some point you met Dennis McCormack.
Dennis McCormack. Hey, we ought to shout out and say hello to Dennis. Dennis McCormack, what a great patriot, soldier, good friend. After he retired, because of what was running through his veins, he stayed involved and is to this day helping out soldiers and families. And you know, Bob, that's what Homefront Cares is all about. I love this organization. We've been pretty nimble over the years. Back when I got involved with the organization, we were helping soldiers and families of deployed soldiers, because in the early days, DOD frankly just didn't know. It took them a few years to get up to speed on making sure pay wasn't messed up and this and that. So in those early days, Homefront Cares was granting to soldiers that had a shortfall in their pay due to a deployment. The family back home had a maintenance issue or whatever, and from day one, the Homefront Cares had granted dollars, not loan dollars, but granted dollars. I think in our first year, in 2003, the first year of the Homefront Cares, the grants were approximately $15,000. This last fiscal year, the Homefront Cares granted over $400,000 to soldiers, families, airmen of those impacted by a deployment in harm's way. Once again, I say that we've been nimble over the years. Once DOD was able to work the logistics behind things, and a huge grant that we received from the SAMS Corporation, we were able to expand our services, not just in the Pikes Peak region, but with Dennis McCormack's recommendation and the things now Dennis was doing in the community, seeing the need for separated soldiers, for retirees, we were able to expand our services beyond those on active duty, because frankly they had a job and income, and DOD finally had solved the pay issues and challenges. But what about those that now had been hurt on a deployment, and so forth? So we expanded our services to those off active duty and across out to the borders of all of Colorado. So whereas in the early years, all of our grants were going to people just here in the Pikes Peak region, now it's roughly 50%, and the other 50% is out around Colorado, and the majority of that number comes from the Denver metro area. But still, by a small amount, 51 or 52% of our grants go to people still here in the Pikes Peak area.
You've all helped many, many thousands over the years.
Yes, I don't recall the exact number, but we've granted something over $7 million in our 12 years of being in existence. Also, Bob, early on we probably learned a lesson the hard way, and it is we don't usually give dollars directly to clients that have that great need. We pay the bills. We verify the need. So along the way, we're going to see a DD 214. The staff will check bank accounts and this, that, and the other. We verify the need, and then we pay the bill. We've got great partnerships on the utility side across the state. Energy of Colorado, EOC as the acronym is. We've got relationships where if someone has a shutoff notice, a call from our staff at Homefront Cares, they'll forgo the shutoff with our promise to pay the bill. What a great organization. You know, what we raise here in Colorado stays in Colorado. And so this is a fundraiser tonight. This is our 12th or 13th annual fundraiser, and it's our single largest source of income for supporting all those efforts I was just talking about. You know, I kind of remember back. I remember back 9/11. I remember what I was doing that morning when I saw on TV the first tower falling, and then an hour later the second tower falling, and how I felt towards the bastards that were doing this towards our country and our citizens. Well, we needed people back then to step forward. We needed those heroes back then to step forward and to protect our freedoms. Well, what the Homefront Cares is about now is it's our turn to give back to those soldiers. The gentleman that's going to speak tonight, and you're going to interview him here shortly later, Travis, lost all 4 of his limbs in Afghanistan. These heroes, they need our help now, and that's what the Homefront Cares is all about.
What's amazing about Travis, and I've seen this so many times over the years, is he has a business, has a family,
Yes.
a nonprofit.
Yes.
He hasn't quit.
No, never, absolutely. You know, we also pride ourselves. We help those with a path towards success. We give them a helping hand and not a handout. What a great organization. I get a lot of personal gratification, Bob, for being associated with and giving some energy to this nonprofit we call the Homefront Cares. Thank you, Bob.
Could you give the website address again?
www.thehomefrontcares.org. Thanks again, Bob.
Before we go, let's give a shout out to our troops.
Yes. Thanks, soldiers, airmen, Marines, and all that you do, protecting our freedoms and our way of life around the world. Hooah!
Can you go behind the camera and show us? But not right now. Folks, we're getting ready to close this first episode on TalkingWithHeroes.com with the HomefrontCares.org. To all of our men and women who are still serving, thank you for your service. Be safe, stay alert. We look forward to you coming home real soon. God bless you. God bless America.